Here in Romania, we jokingly refer to Russia as the Eastern problem, and we also jokingly refer to Germany as the Western problem. Everything else we call the interimarium. But what did Germany do now? Well, if you know anything about European history, Germany is the bosom from which environmental activism in Europe stems from. Initially, during the Cold War, it was funded by the Russians. They were supporting a lot of environmentalist ideology here in Europe with the design, obviously, to cripple Europe's own energy sector. And they were very successful, especially in Germany. They crippled their own nuclear facilities. You know, nuclear power, which is green, it's very useful. France has it. Other European nations have it. Germany doesn't. So Germany, in its infinite wisdom, which was led by the environmental activists, not only crippled their nuclear sector, but also shut down a lot of coal power plants and did everything possible in order to become reliant on Russian gas. So in other words, they're not polluting there, but they're taking gas from Russia, which somehow, I guess, launders the carbon credits, right? Like if you don't do it in your country, it doesn't cost carbon credits, but you can launder it through Russia, and that's fine. Also, they don't have nuclear, but they get energy from France and neighboring countries that do use nuclear. Does that make any sense? Well, it doesn't have to make sense, because the Lügenpresse makes absolutely sure that the people don't really discuss these issues. So, Trump, I know the evil fascist dictator of the United States, the Lügenpresse told me, actually pointed this out and said, hey, look, you're part of NATO, right? You are the heart of European culture. Can you please not take gas from Russians? Do you know what the German did? They laughed at Trump.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course. Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers. It has been the formal policy of our country since President Monroe.
I guess they're not laughing now because things are a little bit problematic. All of the neighboring countries, they're imposing sanctions on Russia. And Germany is without gas. All of a sudden, you know, they're achieving their zero emissions. I mean, they would be happy, wouldn't they? Like, the activists would be thrilled that people are getting mugged at the pump. Like, who mugged you? Pump number 5. Yeah, like, the problem is that winter is coming. And with winter, people need to heat their houses. I mean, you can die from cold exposure, right? Like, it happened in other places, like Texas, which, again, invested a lot in green energy. And in the winter, the green energy didn't deliver. So there were people that froze in their own homes. Like, it's not a funny thing when winter is coming. So now Germany is saying, oh, that's okay. Like, people are going to burn wood. Like, through the compassion of the government, they're now allowing people to burn wood, which, by the way, wasn't okay up until now because, like, carbon emissions. The European Union even told Romania, like, hey, you're not allowed to burn wood. Carbon, oh, the carbon. Well, now they're destroying the planet, apparently. The only problem is, in order to burn wood, you have to design your house with that in mind. Like, it's not so simple to heat up your house burning wood. And if you live in a apartment block, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with burning wood. So not everyone can do it. In fact, very few people can do it because most people who bought houses recently, they designed it in a way thinking that, well, we need to be environmental friendly. That's the future. So we're not going to have a stove to burn wood. Jesus Christ, you know? They're not going to solve that issue. So what they're trying now is to get gas from the Russians. The problem is that the Ukrainians aren't allowing them to get gas from the Russians because this is peak clown world that we're talking about. Like, again, none of this would have been necessary. During the Cold War, the West managed to be independent. Like, the West didn't rely on China. The West didn't rely on Russia. All right? Like, that was during the Cold War. We actually won the Cold War. We did it because we were independent. We weren't crippling our nations. We weren't crippling our energy sector. We weren't doing all of these things in order to make our countries worse on purpose. All right? So, the people who lost the Cold War were Russia and China. They lost it. Like, it's possible. I know it's just unthinkable right now, but it's possible for Europe to be independent. It has been done in the past. It can be done in the future, but not with these activists at the helm. So, what is happening? Well, apparently the Russians, they're saying that Nord Stream 1, which is where Germany gets its gas from, is experiencing technical difficulties, and they need a turbine, a gas turbine, in order to repair it. Well, the gas turbine happens to be in Canada. So the Germans, they went to Canada and they're like, okay, well, give us the gas turbine. To which Ukraine intervenes and says, no. See, you're not allowed to trade with Russia with anything gas-related, because that's the economic sanctions. So what ends up happening is that if Canada trades with Russia, then Ukraine is very concerned. Okay, and if Ukraine is very concerned, I'm not making this up. Like, this is modern politics, 2022, okay? Like, if Ukraine is very concerned, then other nations are going to have to put sanctions. So, Germany is now in a bad place, and it's in a bad place due to its own fucking policies. Like, this didn't need to happen, alright? Had they didn't screw up their energy sector and managed to, like, I'm not saying, like, not trade with Russia, but, like, can you trade, like, 10 or 20% with Russians rather than having your entire energy sector dependent on them? So now Germany is like this anime girl going around, Taskete, you know, Hilfer. Ah, there we go. And they're asking for solidarity. Yeah, solidarity. You know what's interesting? When your country's history didn't show solidarity in the past. I mean, when Greece was requiring solidarity, what did Germany do? It's like, time to buy their little islands. Their little islands should belong to us. They didn't show solidarity to the Greek people. So why are they expecting solidarity now? Like, they want people from Hungary to freeze this winter because Germany doesn't know how to behave at the voting polls? They like, who should freeze this winter? This is another question. Like, who should freeze this winter to save Germany? I'm really curious. The Poles, The Poles should freeze this winter? Look, I have compassion for the German people, who I would say, like, most of them didn't vote for this madness. But like, at the end of the day, there needs to come a time when accountability is being decided. I mean, a lot of German people weren't sympathetic to the Greece. They were like, oh, well, you know, like, the Greeks, they're lazy people. That's what they were saying. They're lazy people. The Greeks are lazy. They're corrupt. They're corrupt. Okay, you know, fine. Like, the Greeks should have bailed out themselves. I agree. Lately, when Italy was having problems, Germany said, oh, we're not going to treat Italy unfairly like we did with the Greeks. I mean, it's like all over the table, okay? Like, nothing is under the table. Like, they were outright saying it. Perfect, you know? I am really curious to see what's going to happen, because if Germany does indeed go, it's like, all right, well, we're going to take gas from Russia, Ukraine gets concerned, and we know what happens when Ukraine gets concerned. And by the way, like, from the point of view of Ukraine, as I mentioned before, I see even more talks now. Like, more talks, both from the Polish politicians and the Ukrainian politicians, that after the war, they plan to have a Ukrainian-Polish Commonwealth. If you have a Ukrainian-Polish Commonwealth in Eastern Europe, guess who they are going to be rivaling with? They're going to be rivaling with Germany. Like, Ukraine and Poland, they do have world power ambitions at this point. Like, if the war ends and Ukraine wins, you're going to see that the Ukrainians aren't going to be the American puppet. They're going to probably trade with China as well. I mean, they're going to trade with anyone that's willing. It's going to be very interesting, especially because after a war, all of the people become hyper-nationalistic. They become hyper-far-right. They're not going to buy in any of the, like, modern ideological bullshit. They're going to care about how can they put food on the table. They love their country. They love their nation because they fought and bled for it. I'm telling you, a lot of left-leaning people are going to be very surprised about the way Ukraine comes after the conflict. It's going to be something that a lot of Western leaders aren't expecting. Let's put it like that. That's my assessment. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I'm rarely wrong. Let me know what you guys think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.